Okay, guys, here are some just essential vocabulary terms that you will need to know and be able to use for a unit on colonialism and imperialism. So if you look at first two, colonialism and imperialism, it'd be good to know those. Colonialism basically is the act of one country putting their people or citizens in another land, and they put them there in order to have them work or develop the land and have them benefit the mother country. Now, the root of that, or the Latin term from that, comes from the word colonus, Colonus, and I know that's kind of big, which means, in Latin, farmer. Okay, so if you think of it that way, countries are putting people out to go farm the land and bring that benefit back to the mother country. Excuse me. Imperialism, now, on the other hand, is slightly different. Imperialism is the idea of one country taking over another country and really controlling all the aspects, the people, the government, the functions of that society. Now, the root for imperialism comes from the Latin word imperium, I-M-P-E-R-I-U-M, which means command. All right. So imperium means command. Colonialism means farmer. So you can see the difference there in those two terms. Now, if you think about them in terms of just how would you depict them with a picture, a colony would look like that. Hang on. So a colony would symbolize like product placement in movies, where companies pay to have their products seen in movies and TV shows, and it's put there in order to farm more business out for those companies. A good example, I think, is the relationship between GM and Transformers. The people who made Transformers probably could have picked, I don't know, Ford, Fiat, Ferrari, whatever they wanted, but GM paid them a lot of money to put their products in that movie. So I guess in ways you could say they kind of colonized that movie. Now, if you were to look at imperialism in terms of a picture, you'd probably find this, and that's Darth Vader. So his whole mission now is to take over everything he can and to command and control that. So again, the difference between a colony and an imperial state is the fact that a colony, the intention and the practice of it right away is to simply put people there in order to farm whatever they can of whatever products there are. And when you're an empire or you're imperial, you're looking at controlling things. So again, I just thought product placement and a picture of good old Darth would be a good way to kind of remember those two things. All right, two other terms that I want to cover, and that's direct rule and indirect rule. And these are directly relate to how countries who take over, who imperialize, maintain control. All right, now if you look at direct rule up here, that basically means that the country who takes over is going to be heavily involved in the day-to-day operations. They're the ones who are running the government, they're running the country, they're running the society. So if Britain takes over India, you're going to have British officials working and running the day-to-day operations of the government, as opposed to indirect rule, which was used a lot in Africa by the British. Indirect rule means that the country who takes over, or the country who is imperial, uses local officials to run the government, and that way they can maintain some semblance of ownership with the natives. But really, the relationship is one of a puppet and a puppeteer, where the mother country or the imperial nation is controlling the actions of those officials that are serving an indirect rule. This usually leads to revolution, and this usually leads to revolution. This one a little quicker. I mean, you can imagine they have an election, you get a ruler in there that the mother country doesn't like. Well, they may have to take him out, or they may fight that mother country. France used direct rule a lot in Africa, and we'll talk about those guys here in a second. And the British used indirect rule very, very often. Two pictures, these two things. If you run a direct rule, you have your boss yelling at you, telling you what to do. Okay, kind of an overbearing boss directly up there telling you what to do. An indirect rule, I think, could be depicted as Elmo or a puppet and a puppeteer. Where Elmo here isn't just a live talking thing, but his actions, words, and everything are controlled by this guy, Kevin Curtis, who is his puppeteer. So if you were to look at this as an analogy now, this could be during indirect rule, Britain, okay, and here is their colony. So Britain is telling their colony what to do. The colony therefore takes the actions and everything that Britain wants them to do. So I hope that gives you guys a better understanding of colonialism, imperialism, and really the two types of rule. Thanks, guys.